Thank you for joining us at Parliament 2010. You're chairing tonight's panel and you're London Bureau Chief for Time Magazine. You must get a pretty good sort of 360 view of how politicians are reacting to new technology, and also a good gauge of how people are reacting to them using it. How do you think technology is going to play a role in the next Parliament here?
Well, I think it's going to play a very big role not only in the next Parliament but also in the next election, just as the elections that we had in the US were the first elections that played out quite so heavily in the new media but also using various kinds of new media. So the elections coming here will be the first ones that really are in the Twitter age, to use a horrible phrase. And what I think the impact, both in terms of campaign and then also in terms of the Parliament that you get after that, will be is that it's much harder for parties to maintain central control, and the kinds of command and control structures that Labour was so good at simply won't work anymore. So I think they're going to have to grow up quite quickly, get used to the idea that they are going to have to empower their MPs and other party activists to say what they want to say, and make sure that the messaging is strong enough from the centre so that it isn't a matter of everyone parroting the same lines, because that is the thing that really doesn't work on social media. If you try and control it, nobody bothers reading it.
That's a very interesting point, because many politicians who are reluctant to get into that social media space are saying it's because they're frightened of saying something wrong. I mean, David Cameron's now famous comments from earlier this year sort of summed that up. I mean, do you think that there is an appetite for people to see the real face of politicians and to see them off the leash and get more of their opinions?
Well, to give you a personal answer to that, the politicians that there are now quite a lot of politicians that I have literally got to know, mostly through Twitter, also a little bit through Facebook, and who I have a better working relationship with as a result of their ability to use the social media for two-way, not just two-way conversations, but also because they say interesting things that give you an insight into the way that they think. And those are the sorts of people who are using it well. It is also true that there is probably a higher percentage of MPs that you might describe as mavericks who are using it well. But in a way, I think what I'm saying is that the bigger parties are going to have to get used to the idea that they are made up of diverse opinions, and that debate inside parties is not intrinsically a bad thing.
And one other thing that's been very prominent this year has been campaigning activity on Twitter. The Trafigura scandal, Januar, it's all been there. How do you rate Twitter as a campaigning mechanism, and how does it fit together with the traditional mechanisms of mainstream media?
Well, those were both kind of renegade campaigns. Those were not campaigns in the sense of big organisations attempting to campaign, but kind of the opposite. Those were demonstrations of people power, if you like. Even though I believe Jan Moyer suggested that it was an orchestrated campaign. I mean, I was part of that spontaneous reaction, and certainly nobody orchestrated anything that I did that day. I think that what that shows is that if you can get people interested in something, then you can also get a huge debate going. But I'm also, as I'm pointing out, it's also extremely hard to control the direction that debate goes in. So I think you're not going to see it as a campaign tool in the sense of getting people all to think and say the same things, but you could very well use it to motivate people and possibly to get them out and campaigning in the flesh, which is something I want to actually discuss this evening.
Catherine Meyer, thank you very much.
You're welcome.